We're right in the middle of fall here, in the middle of autumn. Leaves haven't departed from the trees yet, but they're nice and colorful. Weather is changing, heading towards winter. I like the fall. They say you always like the season you were born in, and I was born in September, so I guess beginning of autumn. But yeah, the fall is kind of a unique time, you know, especially when you live in a four seasons climate like I do here in Canada, that the fall is that time when everything starts changing. You get into that cusp where things slow down, they go dormant, and over the winter it's almost like a pregnancy, isn't it? Over the winter, it's like, you know, the winter is a gestation period. I guess you could look at it that way, right? You know, you have that real active summer period, then you have the fall where you're transitioning into this dormancy, but the dormancy doesn't mean you're doing nothing, right? It can mean that you're just pulling within a little bit, maybe quietening down and changing some things and allowing space for that to develop, you know, within yourself and in what you're doing. As many of you know, I have made some rather significant life changes, so it's probably even more meaningful to me this year, going through fall and into winter. I know that there are some newfound enthusiasms that I want to empower. I want to pick back. I want to pick up my art again, I was wanting to say. I am an artist. I'm a painter, and I've been a sculptor. So I'd like to pick that up again, the painting anyway. Yeah, and a few other things. But one thing at a time, right? So I'm looking forward to that. Also figure maybe be a little bit more active this year in the winter. Might get some snowshoes. Go out in the woods, in the mountains, do some hiking, some photography. I'm trying to be careful in my voice level, because I noticed on a couple other videos that when I was riding on, let's say, a highway or, you know, a faster road, I tend to speak up a little bit more, and then the mic setting was at 3 and it has 6 settings, but even just at 3 it was, you know, reaching the point where it was crackling a bit, and so I turned it down to 2. But I also noticed that when I stop at a light like this, I tend to lower my voice, and then you know, it's a big difference. So a couple times I brought the level up in the editing just on those sections, but I'm trying to remind myself of a couple of things when I do videos. Voice level, and also, and I forget this all the time, and I've probably done this annoying thing today, is turning my head when I'm looking at traffic while I'm talking, instead of stopping talking, turning my head and starting again, and then I can edit that out. I find it really annoying to watch videos, including my own, when suddenly you get this vision snapping left and right real fast. It's probably worse for me watching it, because I have an inner ear problem. I used to have, well, I still have it. They call it vertigo, you know. Basically, my left spatial orientation mechanism in my left ear is completely shot, so I have none there. But I've gotten used to it so much that I got my balance back and so forth, but some things will trigger me, like if I turn 360 degrees just standing still, that bothers me. So if I turn 180, I tend to want to just turn back the same way. Sounds crazy, eh? But otherwise I'm doing pretty good. I mean, my balance, like see, there I go, checking lanes, turning my head while I'm talking. Yeah, my balance is pretty good now and getting a lot better. So that gives me the opportunity to enjoy getting back into my practice of Tai Chi and Qigong. I've practiced Tai Chi Chuan and Qigong for, I guess, about 30 years, but less disciplined in the last 12 years. So that's another good change, because that does me a power of good, just a power of good. I love it. A lot of people don't quite know what Tai Chi is, you know. It's not just that slow moving, relaxing exercise you see people doing on TV or in a park. I mean, it is that, but it's also much more. It is a martial art if you practice it that way, and it's not always just slow. Tai Chi includes some very explosive movements. Depends on how you practice. You practice slow, but you also practice fast. You practice combination of slow and fast. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Of course, if you practice outside, people who don't know anything about it kind of think you're a little bit loopy, eh? I was practicing out in my backyard once, and one of my neighbors from down the street came by. I guess he saw me and thought, what the heck? Next time he saw my wife, he says, "What's wrong with your husband?" Too funny. I don't mind terribly people going the speed limit, although I think it should be illegal. But going under the speed limit, especially when you're driving a Corvette, I don't know. It's kind of interesting lighting on those clouds, the way they're coming down just over that patch of illuminated mountainside. See, before I had this particular camera with the narrower field of view, I wouldn't be able to do that, and you wouldn't be able to see it if I did. Yeah, I'm getting used to this narrower field of view. I quite like it. I prefer it now. Someone told me there was a device you can put on the bottom of your bike. I guess it must be some sort of a magnet. But, you know, sometimes you'll come up to these traffic lights that are controlled by a sensor in the asphalt. And on a motorcycle, sometimes you don't trigger it, right? And I've got the plastic skid plate that's like almost 1/4 inch thick. Well, I guess it is. And I think that that impedes the sensor from knowing I'm there. So some of these traffic lights just don't work for me. And I end up hoping that a car will come by and pull up behind me and kick it in, or what I'll do is I'll just go through the red when it's safe. But I heard that there was this device you can just attach to near the underside of your bike pointing down, and it'll help trigger those. Yeah, the autumn time of year, it just makes everything look better, doesn't it? I noticed I went over the manhole cover around that little bend there, and I normally never do that, except on totally dry days. Even then, I try to avoid them if, you know, it's not too far out of my way. But I noticed, I went over that one and it's still wet. That's a no-no. I felt the tires slip. The painted strips also, you know, crosswalks and that sort of thing. If they put a crosswalk in a bend and you happen to go over one of the little strips on a wet day, you'll slip out too. They don't make roads for motorcycles, do they? But we have other advantages, don't we? Like joy, riding a bike, immersed in the elements rather than in a cage, no matter how comfortable and climate controlled it is. Just don't give you the same feeling as riding a motorcycle. So I'm willing to put up with the odd inconvenience. Well, there's a nice view, isn't it? There's a view over the Mission area of Kelowna, and you can see the bridge in the distance there. Well, that's all I got today. So you guys and girls, you have a wonderful day. Ride safe, have fun, and I'll catch you on another one.